Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again with Cozy for another podcast. A lot to get into today, including the latest on Eze's potential transfer to Arsenal, the latest on Nico Williams. Athletic has confirmed that if Arsenal are going to get a winger, it's going to be Nico Williams. Another midfielder from Spain, Real Sociedad, not Zubimendi, but Merino will be discussing that. And also Raphinha. Could he be up for a swap deal with a certain Arsenal player? We'll be discussing all that. But first, Cozy, how have you been?
I've been very, very fine. It's a month that we predicted to have things happening. They are already happening, and I think we are going to still see a couple of deals that people don't expect, links to names that we're not expecting. But at the moment, I think I'm contented with what we are doing. The plan is already in place. We know what we are doing. Looks like we know who is going to come in after who. I'm just waiting for those big deals to be done before we get into preseason. So for now, I'm 100% very well, very well.
For sure. Now, we've always talked about strikers, wingers, but I've always said to you, because my priorities are midfielder. Now, today's linking us back to Mikel Merino. According to reports from Ghana blog, Arsenal wants a central midfielder. One player of interest is Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino. Mikel is an admirer of his talent and physicality. Merino turned 28 in June, which would place him outside of Arsenal's typical recruitment profile. The relative youth of the squad, however, means they can add more experienced players when required, as they did with Jorginho and Leandro Trossard. So before I bring Cozy in, we covered this in terms of how good he is in terms of winning duels. Mikel Merino, 326 duels won, 29 more than number two, ahead of players like Bruno Guimaraes and players like that. So he's going to get involved in duels. He's going to win stuff like that in midfield. He's very good in that midfield position. But as I said, he is 28 now. Cozy, if they told us our midfield signing this time is going to be Mikel Merino, we're not going to get any other midfielders. Do you think Mikel Merino is enough? And do you think he can play in that number 6 position and rise up front? Because he's more of a number 8 to me.
I think in terms of his profile,
Hmm.
I would straight away disagree with him.
Hmm.
He's predominantly in number 6. He's predominantly, in number 8 actually, a central midfielder, and I think the strategy from Arsenal right now might be changing a little bit when I think about the players that we've been linked with recently. Eze, Joao Gomez at Wolves, and now Mikel Merino. All these are central midfielders. All these are players that can play in the 8. So maybe we might see a little bit of a shift due to the market. We were told that this market is one that Mikel Arteta and Edu will try to work on market opportunities. If they feel like the opportunities are in the number 6, they'll go and get a number 6. If they think the opportunities are in the number 8, they'll go and get a number 8. But my problem with Mikel Merino and signing a profile like Mikel Merino is us committing to Declan Rice in that number 6. So would I be contented if Moreno came in and we never signed anyone? No. I think I see him as a player who should come in if Arsenal let go of Fabio Vieira and if Arsenal let go of ESR. So I would understand. Arteta is losing some attacking power in midfield. You have Odegaard as the only attacking midfield option. So you bring in a player like Mikel Merino to replace ESR and replace Fabio Vieira. I understand that. But if he's the one that comes in and Thomas Partey leaves, if it's the midfielder that comes in and we are letting go of Thomas Partey, I'm nowhere near contented with such a signing. I have so many big problems with him as a player. I think he's a really talented player, but I don't think we should be judging central midfielders from how tall they are, from how physical they are, from how many area duels they are winning. For God's sake, we already have Declan Rice. He's one of the tallest midfielders the world has ever seen. I think we should be looking to, I would say, add creativity to this to this midfield. If you're not looking to add creativity, then bring in a good prop-up DM and let Declan Rice play in the number 8. So for me, no, I don't think it's the profile that would satisfy me, let alone excite me this summer.
Yeah, if Merino came in, it'd be the one to play in the number 8 position and Rice to play the number 6 position, unless Merino is going to be on the bench and come on sometimes as a number 8, sometimes as a number 6, depending on what happens, because we've seen him coming on from the bench for Spain a few times at this tournament. But he loves getting into the box as well. You saw him scoring the win against Germany, so he'd be able to do that from the number 8 position. But as you've said, that would mean Rice plays the number 6. I do prefer Rice as the number 8. I don't think he's the worst player in the number 6. I don't agree with people who say Rice is a calamity in number 6. I don't agree with that. I still think he can do that, but I prefer him as a number 8, defending from the front, and then you also have someone else in midfield. So do you think Atse is looking at it like, I know you've said, deals and all that, you already have Rice. Maybe Atse is thinking, I want two, but I want now to completely suffocate the opponents to the point where they're not getting any tackles, any aerial duels. In midfield, I want both Rice and Merino there, and, maybe still keep Partey. Do you think that is a possibility?
I think there's a big possibility that we might see Partey stay. I think there's some players that Arsenal have made clear that they will sell them, but we are not 100%, under pressure to let them go. We're not 100% with, under the right conditions to actually let them go. And some of those players, I would say, from my own opinion, Partey is included among, and maybe even Nketiah. So I think the idea with Arsenal, and this was reported by The Athletic, is if we cannot find a good attacking option in terms of a center forward, Mikel Arteta might choose to sign a number 8 and to sign a number 6 as well, to do a double deal. Now, if you're doing a double deal with Mikel Merino coming in, that's fantastic. I don't have a problem with that. Well done. That's very good scouting. Go on and, give me more deals. But my problem is, if you're bringing him alone, if you're signing one player and it's Mikel Merino and you're letting go of Thomas Partey, I'm not contented. Now, this is also another statement I want to make. If Arsenal bringing in Mikel Merino only, and we are keeping Partey as well, I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's okay, because last season, Jorginho played a lot of games, Partey didn't play as many games. We don't have any insurance, any guarantee, any assurances that Partey is going to play more games than he played last season. And I think the one thing we can guarantee is, after Jorginho playing so many games at for Arsenal and at the Euros, he's not going to be as strong, as effective. He's getting older. I mean, we've got to, there are times when you've got to agree and to allow the fact that, this guy, he's good on the ball, technically, able, but he doesn't have the legs, he doesn't have the energy to run up and down the field with the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, with the likes of Joao Gomez, with the likes of Kobe Mainu. He doesn't have the energy to chase and be chased around by this young blood. So ideally, the idea of a midfield should be energy. And I've already said this, Arsenal, one of the things we lack in games is energy. And with Jorginho, you don't have that energy. With Partey, you have that energy. But for how long are you going to have that energy? For how long are you going to have Partey, and Rice partnering together? So with Merino, I understand, good player, can come in, can do a lot of things for Arsenal. I think Mikel Arteta can also envision him as a future DM, because he's getting older. So probably he turns into a Busquets. He's physical. He can win the ball back very well. His passing is incredibly very, very good. Like, when he's in possession, if you've seen him for Spain, anyone, he is incredible. Like, he's one of those players that have got the ability to keep the ball onto his feet and onto his body in the final third of the opponent. He did that against Germany, and I was like, who is this guy? And again, when Spain played France, and he came on in the last 20 minutes, he actually did it. France were no longer able to just pick up the ball from Spain, because Mikel Merino came onto the pitch and he was, getting the ball glued onto his feet. So I think there are so many advantages. There's so many good things about his technical ability in possession, out of possession. But you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to look at the real problem. For me, Mikel has got to start addressing real problems, and maybe Edu as well. They've got to start looking at real problems. What is our problem last season? Our season, we had a forward man in Kai Havertz that we could have improved on. So go and improve on him. Last season, we had Thomas Partey as one of the players that we should have relied on, and he wasn't there for that. And that was the third successive year that Arsenal needed Thomas Partey, and he wasn't available. Go and improve on him. So I love Mikel Merino, but I don't think he's the improvement that Mikel Arteta is looking for, or Arsenal are looking for at this point in time.
I was just about to ask you that. Do you have a problem with Mikel Merino as a player, or do you think just have a problem with how he's going to come and fit in at Arsenal? If they said, let's say Partey has gone, and they said, okay, Arsenal have brought in Fofana from Monaco, and they've also brought in Merino, will that be okay?
If we are sure that Fofana is 100% going to adapt into that Thomas Partey role, I don't have a problem. If it's Mikel Merino alone, I have a problem. So this is what I think. This is what I fear. What I fear is us playing Declan Rice and making demand in the six and making demands of him that we know he's not capable of doing, and cutting off the abilities that we know he can do. So what we have seen with Declan is ball progression in terms of him as a box to box midfielder. Excellent, one of the best in the world right now. Getting into the penalty area and winning area duels, scoring goals, from the blind side of the defense, wonderful. Winning the ball back high up the pitch, wonderful. Why don't we give him 5 quality seasons doing that? Why don't we let him do that for 5 quality seasons? Why are we trying to change him again into the number 6? Because when you sign a player like Mikel Merino, I think Merino is too good in the 8 in terms of ball progression. He would wonderfully fit into the system. He would wonderfully enjoy playing with Martin Odegaard. But that leaves us with the burden of slow build up and slow progression. So the thing with the thing with Declan Rice that I've already said, you don't want him to be the first midfield player to actually drop and try to kind of build up, unless Mikel is saying, I'm going to have Declan Rice start high up the pitch, and I'm going to have Martin Odegaard as the player that starts my progression. I don't have I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, or maybe Mikel Merino as the one that starts progression. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is underutilizing Declan Rice and also misusing him. Right, a player like Mikel Merino could very, very much lead into Declan Rice playing as a traditional number 6, and I don't think that's what you want. But I don't have a problem with him. I just have the problem with the position that we are trying to, upgrade on. I think Rice is not upgradable at the moment. I think you can find maybe a player like Eze to come in and play when Rice has not played, but I don't think we're desperate to upgrade on Rice. I think we're desperate to replace and upgrade on Thomas Partey.
Yeah, my biggest worry as well was, overplaying Jorginho and Rice too many times. You need to have someone to rotate with them. And also, I feel Rice does a lot for us going forward. We'd be limiting him playing the number 6. Not because of other people's reasons of Rice is a calamity in the number 6. No, I still think 3-4 games he can play there, depending on the game, if you need to add an extra attacker. But most of the games starting, I do agree with you. You want someone else to come and collect the ball from the defenders, from the goalkeeper, and Rice is already forward. He can, drive us forward. He's already on the same line with Odegaard, maybe. And sometimes he runs to the left side and, puts in good crosses. I've seen him covering for the left wing a few times this season. His assist for Odegaard against Sheffield United. On the left side, he does a job. He can cover for the left back. So you don't want to give him that job as well as of being a number 6. So I do agree with you. But it's an interesting one. Where would Merino fit in at Arsenal? Let us know in the comment section. I think for me, Ata just wants to suffocate the opponents. He wants to have all of them on the pitch at the same time. One playing number 6, and the other one number 8, and then the other one number 6, number 8, just totally confusing the opponent. But it's going to be an interesting one, man. But Merino, we are linked to him, as Ghana blogger said. I don't know how much it cost. I don't know if because he has an idea.
The idea of him, I think his market value has been 50 million euros for the last 4 years. I was shocked. The lowest it has been in the last 5 years, it has been around 25 million euros. But since 2021, his market value has been 50 million euros. But maybe if we associate that to sell, they would consider something like maybe 35 million pounds or something like 40 million pounds around there. I don't think it would be an expensive option. But the thing with him, and I see what Mikel Arteta is trying to do with him. So when you think about Rodri in midfield and you think about Kevin De Bruyne, there are two things that you have there. Kevin De Bruyne is very, very, incredibly creative, but he's also very hardworking. One of the reasons why Man City give you that, suffocation is there's a player like Kevin De Bruyne who doesn't lose the ball, number one. And secondly, when they lose the ball, he's so underrated at closing down and winning the ball back. It's very, very underrated. So what Mikel is trying to do is he's trying to create a defense, a back five that doesn't concede goals, and then he's trying to, in front of them, he's trying to create a wall that is so creative when he needs them to, but very, very defensively reliable when he needs them to. So we are going to see a team in Arsenal where you have Moreno, Rice, and Odegaard. Odegaard is a freak at pressing. Kai Havertz is a freak at pressing. But look at the height of Moreno, look at the height of Declan Rice, and look at the height of Kai Havertz. I think we will score more set piece goals. I think we'll concede even less set piece goals. But the idea is that when Mikel Merino and Kai Havertz and Declan Rice surround a player like Bernardo Silva, he feels like a rabbit trapped into in them in that kind of systems. I think
Box,
that's
yeah.
what he's trying to do. I think he's just trying to dominate the Premier League with physicality.
And that is why a player we're going to talk about in this video, Eze, I'm like, are we really going to go with two attacking-minded players? Because Atta wants to really dominate the midfield. That's why a player like Eze plus Odegaard in the same team, I don't think Atta would really want that. But we're linked to him. But first, let us know what you guys make of the Merino situation. Do you think it adds something to Arsenal? Let us know. That's not the only player we're linked to from La Liga, because there's another one who played last night against France for Spain in absolutely incredible again when he picks up the ball. His name is Nico Williams. According to reports from Ghana Blog, again, if Arsenal are to sign a wide player, Nico Williams would be Mikel Arteta's preference. So first up, Cozy, we've been linked to players like Neto. We all know why you wouldn't sign him. I know players like Bakayoko, we've mentioned them. You've mentioned players like Liao if they were available. Not too many wingers that would be available to improve our team. Nico Williams, I was kind of surprised that you were really looking at him that much, because I thought you were just going to go for a backup for Saka, someone like that, 10 million, 20 million. But Nico Williams looks to me like someone who'd come and sit someone on the bench. Do you think that would be the case? And do you think that would affect the likes of Trossard and Martinelli? Do you think you're not bothered about that? You just want to add to the strength? Because I'm like, if Nico Williams comes to Arsenal and plays on the left side, Martinelli could be like, I'm no longer the first option. There's Trossard, I'm the third option. Now I'm off.
I think with Mikel, I don't want to use the word ruthless overly when it comes to Mikel Arteta, because there are times when he's ruthless, there are times when he's willing to take a compromise. But I think just like the goalkeeping department, just like the left back position, he has realized that honestly, there is something that is missing in this attack. And people, if you want to understand the right idea of balance, I want you to go and look at Spain, Yamal and Nico Williams. That is the right idea of balance. With Cucurella and Cavallal, just giving support to both wingers, and both wingers being really electric. So what Mikel wants to do is he wants to create a policy where no one is safe. He wants to create a policy where everyone at Arsenal is either on the bench or or starting a game. So you are either thrown out of the starting 11 or you are good enough to start a game. I think the idea of Gabriel Martinelli last season not being good enough can be attributed to two things. One, yes, I think that Martinelli didn't have enough support and the team didn't have enough balance on the left-hand side, the way it had on the right. But also, I think Gabriel Martinelli became a little bit comfortable after that season, because I looked at him and I was like, this is not the Martinelli. You're not actually failing to deliver because you're not giving the ball. There's some goals that he was missing, and I'm like, that is your goal. That is your finish. That's your trademark move. You've got to finish that off. What is going on? So I think Mikel is not happy and is not contented with whatever is going on the left-hand side. Eventually, Martinelli knows that Trossard is 29. He doesn't have a long time, so he still sees himself as that, as that guy. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but Martinelli's mentality is not Saka's mentality, because Saka's mentality is, I will take on players, and I am the guy. I'm literally the guy. I don't care if I have Reece Nelson and Fabio Vieira who cannot touch me. I am the guy, right? I don't care if I have Cole Palmer on the bench. I am the guy. I'm going to create something. The team needs me. I'm going to step up. I don't think that's Gabriel Martinelli's mentality. I think Martinelli's mentality is, I am talented. I can do it. Yeah, today I did it. Yes, tomorrow I didn't do it. So, who cares? I think there's a difference in the mentality. So I think he wants to bring in a player like Nico Williams. And you're right. Williams is not a bench player. For 58 million euros, you don't sign him to say, sit there when Gabriel Martinelli is not playing well, we'll bring you in. Or when Saka is not playing well, we'll bring you in. He's a player that comes in to directly demand his position. He's a player that directly comes in to say, what's up? If he comes in and says, I can create more than Saka, I can score more than Gabriel Martinelli, I deserve to start. If Martinelli had such a season, what did he score? 5 goals, 7 goals last season? And then Nico Williams arrives this summer, and Nico Williams goes 15 assists, 7 goals. Martinelli's done. He's done. He becomes backup. It's as simple as that. He becomes the new Ramsdale. He becomes the new Zinchenko. He becomes the new, Jakub Kiwior. So it's the something we have seen with Calafiori. It's the something we have seen with Declan Rice. It's the something we have seen with David Raya. Mikel doesn't care who you are. He wants to create a team where everyone has to merit starting or merit sitting on the bench. And I don't think there are so many Arsenal players that can complain, why am I so good, when the team brings me on and I don't play. Trossard is good when he comes on, he plays. I don't have any other substitutes at Arsenal. I wouldn't sell. I can't lie. The rest of them, if you want to leave, you've not proven your worth at the moment, so you can leave. So for me, I think
Go ahead.
I think with Williams, it's about can I create tension from Mikel Arteta? It's about can I create a higher level of competition in that forward area.
Yeah, now I don't mind that at all. Like bring competition to kick on the backside on everyone in the team, and like okay, if I perform poorly, I'm on the bench. I think Man City, apart from maybe Rodri and maybe one other or two players, you never know. It could be Grealish, it could be Doku. If Doku doesn't perform well, he's on the bench for 3 games. The season before last, the treble-winning season, Foden was on the bench for like 5-6 consecutive games. You never know whether even Haaland sometimes on the bench. Alvarez, if he doesn't perform well, you don't see him again for 7 games. A lot of rotation defensively. If Stones makes a mistake, you're out. There's Diaz, there's Akanji waiting. You're on the bench. I don't think we're in that position. That's why we're trying to get into that position. And that's always been Arsenal, man. Like, there's a time he was so comfortable, Bellerin did not have anyone else. If Bellerin didn't play well, he had to play. If Szczesny didn't play well, he had to play. And a lot of other players, he didn't really have any backups. Even 2-3 years ago, Aubameyang, Lacazette, even if Aubameyang played poorly, what do? Aubameyang has to play. He's the only one who can score. So we had a problem. Ozil, if he doesn't play well, there's no one else to come in his position. But this team, if you have Martinelli and Trossard and Nico Williams and all these guys, that would be great. Now, would you also want to see Nico Williams going to the right side a few games and helping out Saka on that side, or do you think it's going to predominantly be used as a left winger?
I don't think a few times. I think many times, and much of the time he's actually going to play there. I think when he comes in right now, you've got to factor in Leandro Trossard. He's been incredible. I've seen people yapping, "Oh, if Trossard, he's gonna get old. We should sell him this summer. We are desperate to sell him." And I'm like, just keep quiet if you have nothing to say. Crazy. Like, so if he comes in right now, what is the biggest problem Arsenal have? The biggest problem is Arsenal not being able to rotate Saka, not being able to get enough rest for Saka. Right now, he's coming from an international tournament, and both of them are coming from an international tournament. So they should be able to, I don't want to say that Saka shouldn't play 35 games a season. Saka is a 35 game, guy, and he's got that ability. And that doesn't change, and that will never change. He's got the ability to go 38 games a campaign, 30 goal contributions, right? But I think what Arsenal don't have is when Dan Burn deals with Saka successfully, when Aaron Van Bissaka deals with Saka successfully, when Luke Shaw or when Nathan Ake deals with Saka successfully, do we have another player that has something different, something that the opponent is not prepared
used
for,
to expecting,
used to expecting. I think that is what Nico Williams would serve as a purpose, because he's so good on his left foot and very good on his right foot. If you've watched him for Spain, he brings the corners on the right hand side and he brings the corners on the left hand side as well, and that shows you he's very, very comfortable on both feet, and he's going to even just get better. So if he comes in at Arsenal right now, I won't be surprised to see him, even go 4 games he starts 4 games or he starts 4 games, and Saka maybe is on the bench just trying to, maybe heal off an injury, maybe get back to fitness or something like that. He's just an incredible talent that is going to come in and create impact in both areas, left hand side of the attack and right hand side of the attack. But I would be happier if he came in and he just allowed us to see an increase from every wide player, wide forward at Arsenal, because I feel like these players, there is something missing. When I look at the the Mane Salah levels, I'm like, but Martinelli can do that. Martinelli can finish off these chances like Mane. Why aren't we seeing? It's because the mentality of these players is not top as Salah and Mane. And I think at some point in time, if you bring in a player that can threaten them, like is like really good, for me, Martinelli should already be giving problems to the manager at Brazil. Between him and Rodrigo, between him and Vinicius, who do I choose? But it's an easy decision. It's Vinicius all the time, and that tells you that Martinelli's potential, it's nowhere near being fulfilled. So I think that's what Nico will bring, and that's what he would be able to get out of our players.
I still think Saka and Martinelli have a lot of room for improvement, like Saka finishing one-on-one, improved on his right foot. He can shoot the ball and score. He cuts in and shoots the ball. I think that is something Martinelli doesn't do often as well. So the way Saka's cutting against Man United, against Switzerland the other day, cuts into your left foot and shoot. I don't see Martinelli doing that a lot on his right foot, cutting, shoot the ball. Sometimes go to your left, cross the ball like we see Nico Williams do. I think there's still a lot of improvement for Martinelli to get. He's still going to be an Arsenal player next season. I can't wait to see how he improves next season. Hopefully we get back the 2022-2023 Martinelli, and even better, because he'd be incredible. That Martinelli was very dangerous. I mean, Liverpool was scared to death of Martinelli when Martinelli has the ball. And you're right about Brazil. Martinelli doesn't even get 5-6 minutes. Like he comes on for 3 minutes at the end of the
players
game.
Players like Savio,
and Savio comes on before him.
Hendrick. Hendrick, who's 17 years old. So it shows you that he's got to level up his game.
So let's see how it does next season. So Nico Williams would cost 58 million euros. That would be a lot to spend. You've said if Kimmich joined Arsenal, he'd take us to the Premier League title. Would you say the same thing about Nico?
I mean, it depends on how he adapts. There's a lot to learn. I think with Kimmich, his game has adapted so much. All he needs to do is to, adapt to the environment in the Premier League and London, and he would be good to go. I also think that with Joshua Kimmich, he's really been taught this principle of the Arsenal system by the best, Pep Guardiola. So he would come in and slot in right away. I think Nico doesn't 100% make you win the league, but I think he wins you some games that you wouldn't win. For example, a 1-1 game in the 80th minute, 85th minute, he can come and accelerate the percentage with which you win that game. I think he would win us so many games I think he would change so many games, especially against teams that would feel we have found Arsenal out by dealing with Martinelli and Saka and maybe Trossard. He would come in and give them a new challenge. So I think he wins us many games that are kind of tight. Does this straight away win you the league? I wouldn't say it's that kind of signing that Arsenal bring him in and Manchester City give you the league. I don't think so.
Now that brings us nicely to the next topic. Now let's talk about Raphinha. Now we are hearing that Barcelona obviously want Nico Williams. We've already admitted that yes, he might end up being a Barcelona player. That is his best option for him personally. But there's rumors about Barcelona trying to get rid of players like Raphinha in order to create space for Nico Williams. And one thing that has been, talked about as a potential destination for Raphinha is Arsenal, but not direct cash, a swap deal, Cozy. So let's talk about this one. According to the Evening Standard, Arsenal have launched a player plus cash bid for Barcelona winger Raphinha as they plot a significant spending spree this summer. Now, if I'm not wrong, I did hear you mentioned something about overrated a couple of days ago. What do you think about Raphinha as a player? Do you think his game has dropped off since he went to Barcelona? Did you rate him when he was at Leeds, or do you think he's always been overrated and you're not really keen on this particular signing, even if it happened?
Good player. He can turn his career around. The levels at which he's playing at Barcelona, which is a system team, is very, very worrying. Like for Barcelona, that is a team for Ferran Torres. That is a team for players that can understand the system. You're not going to get as much freedom as you once had at Leeds, and that's why that is why he's actually suffering from. He's not that free to do things that influence games the way he was. And now that there is Lamine Yamal, he's going to be starting every game. He's got to leave Barcelona. In terms of rating, he is overrated. Like, there is no question about him. He is massively, massively overrated. That's what I'm going to say. I think when we signed Alexis Sanchez, you could feel that Arsenal had signed a player that would be different and someone who would be important. But no one really said that Arsenal are going to win the league because they brought in Sanchez. People still had that element of he is good, but is he really that good? I think with Raphinha, because he's Brazilian and because of his time at Leeds, where he was, the guy that was, just dragging
The
these
main man.
underdogs, the main man dragging this underdog side. Everyone is like, this guy is Pele. This guy is, he is known. He is just an ordinary above average player that can come in a season and give you 10 goals and 11 assists. That is his level. I don't rate him more than that, right? So for me, yes, he's a good player. And if Arsenal were thinking we don't bring in anyone or bring in Raphinha, I would be like, are you crazy? Really bring in Raphinha? Like, I would be all over this deal. This is a deal that Arsenal would do, goes under the radar, and he would become like a bit of what Riyad Mahrez had become for Man City
Man
in the
City, yeah.
in the evening days of his career. He would impact every game, and you're like, this guy scores or creates every time. How come that he doesn't get the respect he deserves? So I think Raphinha is one of those players that eventually in his later on in his career, he'll do so many good things, but won't be recognized. But at the moment, he's so recognized for things he doesn't even do.
So he's good, but not oh my goodness, this is
Nah, nah,
incredible
nah,
kind
nah, nah, nah.
of
He's not.
good. Okay, so I
He's not top tier winger. He's not Vinicius.
mm.
Honestly, he's not there.
Because I've had some Arsenal fans saying, "Okay, let's bring in Raphinha." That could mean Saka's on the bench. I'm like, no way, no
No way,
chance.
no way.
Absolutely no. So when he was at Leeds, he was very, very good, obviously. And then obviously, at Barcelona, there's a couple of games I've seen him. Like his performance against PSG was really good. He scored a couple of goals. He looked very lively in that game. So you could have some of those games, but also at Brazil, just like the other Brazilian players that we've talked about, sometimes, maybe the first one to be hooked easily, sometimes on the bench and all that. But he does have moments of magic. Like he's got an incredible free kick at the Copa America. He does have some of those kind of moments. Like you'd hit a very good corner, he'd score a free kick for you outside the box, all that. But maybe depending on him for 38 games or 38 wouldn't be great. Now, in terms of a swap deal, if they said, I think they said something like 25 million plus a player. Now, would you be okay with that? 25 million plus adding Nketiah to Barcelona. Would you be happy with that? If you pay them 25 million plus Nketiah, do you think maybe that is even downing Nketiah's levels? Maybe it's worth more than that.
The maximum I would be willing to pay for Raphinha right now is 40 million euros. That's the maximum we should pay for Raphinha. He's gone down a little bit. Of course, he's played for Barcelona and Madrid. For them, they don't have a reduction in value in their players. Like if they sign you for 100 million, even if you become poor, they want to sell you for 100 million euros. They're like, you go elsewhere, you'll become good. For me, 40 million euros. They signed him for around 66 million euros or 60 million euros. 40 million euros is the maximum I would go. So that is around 32 million pounds.
Wow.
So 25 million plus Edin Nketiah, 100% not, right? 100% not. I think you get 32 million pounds from Edin Nketiah as a player. You get 32 million pounds from ESR. You get 32 million pounds from from a player like Fabio Vieira if he does well maybe next season. Reece Nelson, they're never going to take him. So for me, no. I think the better thing is Arsenal to get a budget and they say we are running 40 million euros in this position. Is it worth 40 million euros? It's a gamble that I would be willing to try, because if we bring him in and even if he doesn't work, I think because you've given him a good deal, maybe 5 years, you can actually move him on. But I wouldn't see so many players I would swap and add cash on to Arsenal. But if there were any, I would give them 20 million euros plus a player like Reece Nelson or any player that we value at 10 million euros, and we could give them Partey. They don't have a replacement for Sergio Busquets at the moment. We could give them Partey, and if they can treat him, they could use him.
If we sorted out our midfield and our striker situation, and they're like, okay, Raphinha to Arsenal, loan obligation to buy for £32 million the next season, backup for Saka, would you take him?
Yeah, very well. But 32 million pounds, that's okay. That's very, very fine. I don't think he's
Now, do
an
you think?
atrocious
Yeah,
player. I don't think he's an atrocious
yeah.
player. I think he's just criminally overrated, and it makes me sick. But I would see him come to a club like Arsenal. He would do better than Anthony at Man United. He would do better than Memphis Depay. He would do better than Pepe at Arsenal.
Interesting. Now, I've heard Barcelona fans saying, Nketiah, are you crazy? Do you think Nketiah would fit at Barcelona? Or do you think it's just crazy? From Villa to Messi to Sanchez to Pedro, he would never fit at Barcelona. Do you think he'd actually go there and score if he gets the chances from Yamal and those guys? I've had Barcelona, I'm actually being nice. Like, what I've had Barcelona fans saying, I can't say it on a national channel. Like, they're like, these guys are crazy. Like, Nketiah to replace Messi. They're like, hell no. But did you see him, with good people around him, Yamal and Gundogan and players like that? Do you think Nketiah would score goals in La Liga?
How he got that shot 14 at Arsenal, someone needs to be arrested in that decision-making boardroom at Arsenal. Like, Barcelona has not fallen to that level. Come on. I've already said this. Nketiah is a 5-goal striker a season. And it doesn't matter.
Wow. I personally disagree with that. I think he can get you 12, 13 goals if he plays 38 games.
It doesn't matter when he scores his 5 goals. He can score his 5 goals in one game. He can score his 5 goals in the first half of one game, and he'll never score any other goals. So for me, no, come on. Yes, Barca have fallen off, but no, if they have employed Robert Lewandowski, it shows you that they're still that ambitious.
Yeah, I don't see Nketiah going to Barcelona. I mean, those are the kind of signings that frustrate teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid. Like, if they got a player like for Real Madrid, like, even if Real Madrid got someone like a Højlund, they'd not be satisfied with that. They'd be like, Højlund,
I mean,
they'll not be satisfied with that.
Listen, we have seen Real Madrid sign Joselu. We have seen Madrid sign Jovic. But these are not permanent fixes. These are not permanent establishments. They know that they're targeting Mbappe. So yes, Joselu can come in for a season, and they also know that in the position, the manager is planning to use maybe Jude Bellingham to get a couple of goals. If Nketiah went to Barcelona on loan for one season because they don't have money, we understand. But him replacing David Villa, him replacing Messi, him replacing the forwards we have seen at Barcelona, and then Nketiah is in that line.
Yeah,
come on, guys. Come on.
I've seen the Barcelona fans already saying, "Don't you dare even do it." But listen, we still, as a player, we still need to find a way where he'll go and how much money you're going to get for him. So let's see how that turn goes.
That is the thing. Even Arsenal themselves are trying to find where they can take him.
Yep, that's a problem. Now, one place that you can go to is Crystal Palace, a team that wants him. And another player who could join us from Crystal Palace is Eze. According to reports from Ed Aarons, Arsenal are understood to be among several clubs interested in Crystal Palace's Eberechi Eze. Now, this is not the first time we talked about Eze with Kozi. Kozi did say, if you're bringing in Eze, we rather keep Smith Rowe. Do you stay with the same opinion?
I'm still there in terms of football. In terms of who wants to be there, who needs to be there, I've changed my mind. But in terms of football, in terms of what we get from ESR and what we get from Eze, keep your Eze. Give me my Emil Smith Rowe. I think we can have a good ride.
Now, Eze has been incredible the last couple of seasons for Crystal Palace. He had a good relationship with the likes of Olise and Zaha. Olise and Zaha have now left. If he ended up staying at Crystal Palace, he'd probably be the main man. He can score goals. He can dribble. He's versatile. He can play on the left side. He can play as a number 8. He can play as a number 10. He can do all that very well. And we saw, like, when he's being unlocked, like when he's not under Roy Hodgson and he was under the recent manager, him and Olise was really enjoying themselves. They were creating numerous chances, scoring numerous goals. He was very good at set pieces. The time he played Crystal Palace and beat them 5-0 after Dubai, he was one of the players that shined in that game for them. He was really good for them, even though they lost 5-0. So it's a player who's capable. I think he scored 10 goals the previous season before last, and this past one he scored 11. So even his numbers are improving here and there, and that was under Roy Hodgson. So if you put him in a system where he's the main guy creating chances, and the team is creating at least 10 chances, 8 to 10 chances per game, Eze would do incredibly well for you. Now, the other question is, do we need Eze? Because that's my question. Personally, I don't think we need Eze. Eze is an incredible player. I would take him at Arsenal. But would we sign Eze and then not sign a striker? I think we need a midfield, as we've said. If Partey gets injured, we need a midfielder. I think we need a striker. But needing Eze, don't we already have players who can do what Eze does? Maybe he can do it better, but if you went and splash 60 million for Eze and not sign a wing and a striker, would people be happy with that?
Now, I've seen people. I'm going to use the word people because I'm very angry at them. I'm not going to use I'm not going to use a bad language. I've seen people say, bring in Eze as backup for Saka. Bring in Eze as backup for as a left winger. Bring in Eze as this and that. What do you call him? Do you think he's like Ronaldo da Lima? Do you think he's Zlatan? This is an not average, but this is an ordinary Premier League player playing for Crystal Palace with a release clause of 60 million. End of story. Do not overrate him, please. Do not overrate him for us. So, do Arsenal need Eberechi Eze? Yes, we do. How much do we need him?
Really?
Yep. How much do we need him? 10%. 1 out of 100. 1 out of 10. That's how much we need him. So the reason why I would say we need Eberechi Eze quickly is, what did we struggle with last season? What we struggled with last season was players as brave as Eberechi Eze, players that have got no fear. They're just free flowing. And even if teams set up in a very rock solid shape in front of your midfield, you have players like Eberechi Eze that will pick up the ball and run through them. He's so good at that. So in terms of running through mid blocks, in terms of running through low blocks, he's actually very good at that. So
I don't think we struggle to create chances, though.
We didn't struggle to create chances, but there are games where teams played a mid block. Aston Villa, Aston Villa in the second leg. The first leg we really created good chances, but Villa in the second leg. Chelsea in the first leg 2-2 when they set up in the middle of the park. Bayern, but especially in the second leg, my goodness, Bayern phoned us out very, very, very well. So in such games, what you lack and what you missed is what Spain have actually had in this tournament, a player like Fabian Ruiz. So with Fabian Ruiz, you've seen him, he's been free flowing, he's been absolutely carefree. He literally he picks up the ball and just drives through everyone. He just goes. I think that's what Eze gives. And I don't know whether that courage and being brave is coached or it is just a player's natural attribute. Because even Martin Odegaard, who's so good, when teams set up in a way of blocking us from the midfield and impacting the middle area of the pitch, he struggles. So I think Eberechi Eze, that's one thing we would need from him. But that's why I said Arsenal have ESR, who actually does that very well. One of the best dribblers in the Premier League. I remember Carragher and Carragher and Neville saying he was the best dribbler in the Premier League in the 21-22 season. When those two rival pundits say that, it is not a joke. He was one of the best players with the ball at his feet in the 21-22 campaign, and I still think he's one of the best players, in this Arsenal squad. When it comes to give me the ball, I'm going to take on one player, two players, three players. I'm just going to bust through them. I'm just going to run past them. And also, that's why Arsenal signing a player like Calafiori. So I would say Eberechi Arsenal's role at Arsenal would be most needed if Declan Rice shifts into the six. So if we're
Yeah.
playing Rice into the six, then Eze's role has been found. New number 8, very very good in terms of driving the ball. He's a hard worker as well. Then there's a role, but with the kind of setup we have right now, no. Eze,
30,
no,
38
no,
games
no.
out of 38, I can't say because the number 8 role for us, defending and attacking. I don't think if Rice goes forward, would Eze step up to the number 6 position and cover for him? Now
No,
that's
I
the thing.
wouldn't say.
So
Yeah,
two, three games,
I wouldn't
yes,
say that.
but
Yeah, I wouldn't say
throughout the
that.
season, that would be a problem. So yes, we're linked to him as is an incredible player. If we signed him, I'd be very happy. Don't get that wrong. Like he definitely had something. Like he can back up or Odegaard. He can play that number 8 role.
Mm.
But in terms of needing him, would I be satisfied if he signed Eze and not sign a striker, for example, and use that 60 million on Eze? I don't know. Yes, they'll create a lot of chances. That what you've said in terms of running through the midfield and cutting through the midfield, it does that incredibly well. Just leaves the midfielders on the floor, the defensive
Yeah.
midfielders on the floor, and you can play on the left side. Very incredible play. And his numbers are improving and all that. So, lastly, on Eze, do you think we've also seen, people have kind of maybe overrated him? People would say that. I've seen people saying he's a bit overrated because maybe he's at a team at Crystal Palace and he really stands out in terms of all the other players. He's the one that has the most skill. Like if he goes to like a Man City or Liverpool, do you think he'd like just be left on the bench? Wouldn't get to those levels?
Uh, in terms of his talent, I don't think anything wrong has been
Mm,
said about him. I think
mm,
his talent shines brightest at a club like Crystal Palace. However, and of course, what he has done, even when he's played bigger teams, shows you that he's a talent who doesn't care.
yeah.
He's going to play his football regardless of who you are. He doesn't care who you are. There has been a little bit of coloring in terms of his presentation by the media and by the
Mm,
fans. I'm just going to call it humbly a little bit of exaggerated coloring when it comes to reporting and opinion. I think many people look at Eze and report about Eze as Kevin De Bruyne, Messi
mm,
Ozil.
mm.
Excuse me, he is not there. He is not a Martin Odegaard. No, he's not. He's not a Chess Fabregas, but he's not a Santi Cazorla. But
Yeah.
I would say Eberechi Eze is, when I think about a player like Phil Foden, so after Phil Foden, I would think about Eberechi Eze. So if I was ranking them, I would have Ozil, Fabregas, Odegaard up there, then Phil Foden in that next tier, and then Eberechi Eze in the third tier. So that is where he is. I think fans just, I mean, for a club like Crystal Palace, they don't get to see these things that much. They don't have a Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard in the same team. So you have Eze, and then you have Olise. That's the end of this. That's the end of this. They had Zaha at some point in time. So because what he does at a mid-table team, not so many players do for such a team. And again,
Yeah.
because when you watch Crystal Palace versus Burnley, he's like the only guy in front.
Ronaldinho. He's like
Yeah,
Ronaldinho.
he's the Ronaldinho. People are like, oh, Eberechi
Yeah.
Eze, did you know that this guy is this good? He's good, but he's not in the first and second tier.
Okay, a couple of quick fire questions. If you're told Eze, 60 million pounds, but you're not going to sign a winger, would you take it?
Eze, 60 million pounds, no winger, no.
Eze or Luis Diaz from Liverpool? If you had a chance of
Luis
signing any
Diaz,
of them, would you? You
Luis
take Luis
Diaz,
Diaz. Wow,
Luis
I didn't
Diaz,
even have
Luis
to. You
Diaz,
didn't even have to
Luis
think
Diaz,
about
Luis
that one.
Diaz. Anyone should be
Okay.
able to take Luis Diaz.
Do you think Eze as a backup for Odegaard a few times here and there would be great?
100%.
So you can depend on him to create and press and all that.
100%.
Okay,
His work ethic
interesting.
is ethic is better than ESR's, and ESR's work ethic is improving, but it's also better than Fabio Vieira's.
If you could choose one between Eze and Olise, would you have picked?
Eze.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So that's the latest on Eze. Let's finally finish with this one. And this is, Jakub Kiwior and Zinchenko. Now, you already know Jakub Kiwior is wanted by a lot of Italian teams. And Zinchenko, one of them is going to leave Arsenal. Potentially, it's going to be Kiwior. So, according to David Onstein, it is possible a player will need to be sold, but it is unclear whether this would be before or after the potential signing of Calafiori. Jakub Kiwior and Alexander Zinchenko are the most obvious candidates, with the former looking more plausible at present, despite his popularity at Arsenal, because he appears to be generating more interest, particularly from Arsenal. So, a couple of questions on this. So for me, I've said I wanted us to keep our defense the same. Keep Zinchenko, keep Kiwior, keep all 7 of them. Absolutely no problem. You can add to it, have 2 players in each position. I don't have any problem with that. But if you're told one of them has to leave, I'd potentially say Zinchenko, I'd keep Kiwior. But if I was just ask Zinchenko as a solo topic, do I want to keep him? Yes, I would keep him and use him more in midfield. Sometimes a couple of games as a left back. Sometimes I know he's not the best of defenders, so I wouldn't play him against Salah or Foden, any of those guys. But in a game where you're going to have 90% possession, I can have him there. So between the 2 players, because do you think we are going to sell Kiwior instead of Zinchenko because Zinchenko is going to do better for Arsenal? That is what Arteta is thinking. Or do you think we are actually just selling Kiwior instead of Zinchenko because there's actually teams that want Kiwior and not too many teams that want Zinchenko?
It's a market that is riding on opportunities. This is another clear example of opportunities. Which player actually do you have a bigger chance of making bigger money? Kiwior or Zinchenko? It's Jakub Kiwior. Sure. Which players has offers? Which player has suitors? It's Jakub Kiwior. So I think Arsenal find themselves in a situation where, if you ask them internally, they would say maybe Jakub Kiwior, with the kind of season he has had, maybe you keep him for one more season, maybe you keep him for one more year and see how he develops. But he is the player that Juve want. He's the player that Inter Milan want. He's the player that AC and Napoli want. That means that in terms of offloading a player from the very, very much clogged area of left back, you've got one that everyone wants, and that's the one you're gonna sell. Now, who would I get rid of? Surprisingly, if we think about this in my own perspective, I think Alexander Zinchenko, you've got to go. Arsenal is getting a little bit, bigger than you are. And also, in terms of being a liability, we can't afford to keep you around. But when you look at this from Mikel Arteta's perspective, the player that he needs more is Alexander Zinchenko. This team still needs leaders. This team still needs the winning mentality, because we have won nothing. I don't want to talk about the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. No, not Carabao Cup. We've never won that. The Community Shield.
We won it for a long time ago.
Someone said the Community Shield is is the Super Cup of England. There's nothing like
Super Cup.
There is nothing like English Super Cup. There's nothing. You have won a league opener. End of story.
Emirates
Cup. Come on. You still need winners in the squad. You still need players that have the vision. When he came in at Arsenal, he told the guys, "Let's go for the trophy." Who was thinking about the trophy? Did anyone think about the trophy in the 22-23 season?
You were shocked to hear about that, So he came with the mentality.
Yeah, no one talked about the 22-23 season as Arsenal being champions. And I was shocked when people said, "Oh my God, our winning mentality is dead." You should be lucky, and you should be, counting yourself lucky, because you were never even thinking about winning the title with Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus and all these players coming in. So for me, that mentality, Mikel still needs it. But also, there are times when you need an inner group of players you can trust. I think he's among that inner group of players. Him, Jesus, Odegaard, Declan Rice. He's definitely among those, inner group of, players that Mikel Arteta can trust. If potentially we're going into a high pressure game, and that's why he plays him in high pressure games. Yes, at times he spoils, but you need players you can trust at times. I think the manager trusts him very much. That's why he stays. Lastly, with Alexander Zinchenko, the difference between him and players like ESR, there are some games that are made for Alexander Zinchenko. There are games that his profile is going to need. Like, The games where you're going to need to overload the midfield and just suffocate the opponent. Just have your left back tucking into midfield, Julian Timber at right back tucking into midfield, and even your centre backs also coming a little bit closer to the center half line. There are games like that, and there are many games like that. Ipswich, Leicester, Bournemouth, Southampton. There's so many games that Alexander Zinchenko is still going to serve a very good purpose for Arsenal. And I actually won't be surprised to see Ricardo Calafiori set up at centre back with William Saliba in some games like that, and then Zinchenko plays at left back because Mikel knows that Calafiori can have the speed and the physicality and is a bully. He can actually take care of the mistakes left behind by Alexander Zinchenko. So I think Zini stays for two reasons. The manager trusts him. He's among the manager's boys, the manager's guys, and also we don't have offers. Honestly, we don't have
offers. So if you said something about Kiwior is the more profit because you signed him for less money and you can sign him for more, and Zinchenko it would be harder to get more than 35 million. If we had gotten both players on a free, both of them on a free, and then both of them we could sell them for 25 million, both of them today. Who do you think would be the one to be sold? Do you think they would still have sold Kiwior and kept Zinchenko?
Kiwior is a proper centre back. There is a little bit of demand for left-sided centre backs that can defend well and can also be good on the ball. I still think Kiwior is the one who would have left.
Interesting. Thank you guys for watching. As always, hit the like button and we'll catch up with you on the next one.